to say good luck out there. Morning, everyone.
I think you're the one who needs a lot.
It's so funny, isn't it, on that tease with...
Don't say it again. You're not going to say what you just said on Instagram,
I wasn't going to say that at all. I was talking about the moment with Lee when he said, I think this is more of a journey for you. I think this is always more of a journey for me. Especially when my brain is feeling slightly... woo-woo.
We are just very, very quickly, because
Morning,
you will
everyone.
eventually see what is going to happen with Lee. My friend Lee, Pierre, to follow him on Instagram, that many of you know.
Yeah, don't overbig it.
He is so funny in this thing that he and Mark have collaborated on. I am going to say whatever I want.
No.
He's
I'm just
very
saying,
bloody
but
funny.
it's like,
and one
mind
day
you-
you're going to see it and you're
mind
going to
you-
laugh and laugh.
I think Lee is a big fan of the kind of over puff, maybe. Before I like to keep it under a bushel and then release.
You've never kept anything
No.
under a bushel.
Something like something
You're
like
not
this.
very
I do.
bushely, Mark.
Oh, I am more bushely than you.
But
What is a bushel?
I never say to people, "Oh, you're going to find this really funny," because I think it's just so dangerous because everybody's
what I
humour is so
mean.
different. But I'm telling you now, if I am saying this,
I've not seen you
I
laugh
have
quite so much.
100%.
I felt a bit jealous actually. I thought, I
I
wish
have
I could make her laugh.
100% confidence. And not only that, the girls watched it as well and were howling with laughter.
I have to say.
And Dina, just with the shorter one, was going,
When she can't
No,
sit,
Dina this is my sister, she was going,
but she can't sit still for 2
can't
minutes.
finish, can I?
No, but
Can't,
she can't sit still for 2 minutes. It's quite an achievement.
she was going, which for Dina is howling with laughter.
Seismic.
That's seismic.
That's a
Lee, I don't know
seismic
if you're
response.
listening to this, but Dina went, It's funny, isn't that? How some people just don't want to laugh. Like when I get Dina laughing out loud,
It's not about you, babe.
I love it.
Has Mark unchanged the title? I had to look up Compersion Love. I learned so much here. Have I changed the title? Yes. No, I've taken compersion out because I thought no one would understand.
But we are doing it.
So the joy of your partner flirting. Flirting?
Well, it's very reductive because it's not just that. We just didn't know how to put it in.
As the vicar said to the bishop.
Yes, that works.
Thank you very much. Said the bishop to the nun.
No, stop now, not too much.
Okay. Smack that, bishop. Good morning, everyone. How are we all? No, there was something I was going to say about that that's really annoyed me.
Is there nowhere that we can put compersion in? Because I think...
Oh, babe, I'm sick. This has been such a... Trying to get the socials up this morning with a constant two-way kind of backwards and forwards.
It's actually a really hard thing. When we want to put in the title what we're talking about, we're so restricted by the words. It's the most frustrating thing because I'm sure there'd be lots of things that we do talk about that people would be interested in, but we can't tell them we're talking
For example, it's no reflection on Lisa Marie, but I didn't want Lisa Marie weight loss tragedy to be so up there. And then there will be a briefer way to say that, but sometimes one's trying to kind of get in. I want to get in as many topics for you as
Compersion,
possible.
we are going to be talking about later, and it is... It actually, it's complex, but it actually comes from polyamorous relationships. And it's really interesting, and we're going to touch on it, and then we are also going to do a How to Stay Married podcast on it as well, because I think it's really
also comes from Buddhist origins, I didn't realise.
Does it? That's what I mean. We need to do more research and do a fuller exploration.
But before we get to that, good morning, everyone. I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. I hope if you're listening, be careful.
I found it very enlightening. Somebody says people know about compersion.
People know about compersion. Okay, well, do we want to lead with that, or should we let's save it? Let's talk about Lisa Marie Presley, her weight loss story. Now, in the Coffee Moaning papers at the weekend, we talked very briefly. It was one of the stories that all the papers were reporting on the fact that the blockage, because it was just reported last week that she had a blockage in her bowels
Absolutely
that she died from. So a blockage in terms of her digestive system.
So there was a whole, I can't remember.
And the explanation was that it was actually scarring of some form, or keloids, from a sort of weight loss operation. But
any surgery, potentially you can get scar tissue, can't you? And so this had built up, and she had a blockage in her intestine, and there was a very long piece of intestine that had actually died.
Right.
And
so this is the kind of thing. This is Lisa Marie Presley. This was a while ago, but it was the kind of the details of how and why she died, and it's. I think I mentioned at the time. There's a sort of I didn't know how much the parallel between her death and her father's death We were getting lost in generations here. She is Elvis's daughter, isn't she?
Daughter, yeah. It was me. I was thinking granddaughter. But bariatric surgery, you know, where you have a piece of your intestine taken out, and actually your stomach ends up like this big.
Or did he actually die? I mean, because I think Elvis's death is often. I think it's really insane. I mean, look, let's put to the side all of the other dubious aspects around Elvis's life. But the way in which he died is often characterised and caricatured and joked about and laughed about, isn't it? That he died on the toilet eating a hamburger.
Well, this is why I thought this was interesting to talk about this today, because I first of all, did we ever look at Lisa Marie Presley and ever think she had a pound to lose? I mean, she's always.
I never thought
struck
about
me
her and weight.
as a you just never. To be able to have that surgery, which is such a massive deal to have that surgery. It's a big surgery, that, you know. And I just couldn't help when I saw it to draw the parallels between that and Elvis, because Elvis, yes, he had drink and drug problems, but really his real addiction was food. And we've spoken about this before, and many people don't agree about
I mean,
that.
he died of a heart attack.
Yeah, that food can be is an addictive substance like alcohol or drugs. I absolutely passionately believe in that. I used to go to Overeaters Anonymous. I have no doubt that there are millions of people that suffer with food addiction, and those people are often told, well, eat less and exercise more, and it's just not that fucking simple. And I think that it's another tragic side to Elvis that I think we haven't heard as much about, but I think now with Lisa Marie Presley dying from effectively having going to the most extreme lengths to be slimmer, bariatric surgery is, you know, it's a big deal. And the fact that he as well apparently once was put into a coma to try and lose weight. This very dodgy 70s doctor who was putting people into a coma. And he, you know, recommended, because Elvis had got so big. And it's very strange. Apparently he came out of the coma because he fell out of the bed.
Right.
Can you believe the stories?
Yeah.
But he would eat something, he would get up sometimes to like tens of thousands of calories a day. You know, there's all the laughing, joking, isn't there, about these sandwiches that you would have with a whole pot of peanut butter and a whole pot of jam. And those are still sold, and then it was deep fried, and what an appetite.
I think the story
it's tragic.
Yeah, I think the story ran. I mean, I think it's an urban myth, but you know, the story ran. Yes, he died of a heart attack, and a lot of people speculate that, you know, he and members of his family had suffered from a variety of congenital issues due to, they say, inbreeding much further up the kind of family tree. That's why they say. But he died of a heart attack. But isn't the joke, not the joke, because it is a joke, unfortunately. But people talk about the fact that he was eating a lot of food at the time, wasn't he?
No, but can I just tell you this? People don't realise that your heart is a muscle.
Yeah, no,
so if you're going from massively overeating, losing weight, like really, your heart suffers from that. And starvation, like your heart, like your mum told us lots of stories, didn't she, when she was working in the anorexic unit, of people that starved. So, you know, yes, all those things together. People die all the time from you know, these food addiction, I believe, that just goes under the radar. It's not, and just the more understanding we have of it, the less people will have to suffer, the more support and understanding.
So you coming from the perspective, I mean, I again, you drill into the kind of history and the details and the studies, which have been, you know, countless, about how Elvis died, the causes of death, the literal causes. It's funny how still the medical establishment, and when you get doctors and experts, I just was looking at something in the Daily Express about how Elvis died. You know, when they look into the kind of literalness of what causes death, of course there's the literal thing that causes death. But for me, this strikes me, or I wonder whether what's happening in the Presley, in these two people, or for Lisa Marie and certainly for Elvis, is the idea that actually addiction issues get hidden very much in diagnosis and in sort of final decisions on what causes of death are. So, you know, a lot of, for example, suicides and lots of sort of issues are a consequence of alcoholism, so, and they get hidden behind the fact that someone dies of, I don't know, liver poisoning. Do you know what I mean? So the literal definition of a death, which often goes into the sort of family history, and it's kind of, oh, that's what they died of. And that, I mean, I remember my grandfather talking about the fact that when I asked him what his father died of, and my grandfather's father died when I think about that, what an impact on my grandfather, actually. Wow. He was 2 when his father died. And he remembers him being in bed. And when I was a kid, he said something. I think he might have said something. He had leukemia or he had something else. But it was cirrhosis of the liver. It was alcoholism, which for me was really significant and important, because certainly when you enter rehab, you chart these patterns in family trees. And is that kind of what resonated for you in this?
Yeah, and then like when I think of all the stories from when I sat in over Eaters Anonymous years ago, and, the desperate act, so the long periods of overeating and stuffing and, trying to fill that emotional gap with food. And then the periods of time of taking slimming pills and doing all this sort of stuff, that is just so tragic. And I think he was more of a pill popper. He was known, what do any of us know completely about, but from stories, than alcohol. And I just wonder how much of that was slimming. If he was prepared to be put into a coma to try and lose weight, I think it would be highly unlikely that he wasn't taking slimming pills as well from the Hollywood doctors. And I suppose it's just another moment of just going, let's be kinder to people that literally can't just eat less and exercise more, because it ain't that simple. It's just not. And
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, that's sort of Lisa Marie. Again, that's not necessarily news that's broken, but it's something that I think people are coming to terms with. Why do people die of the things that they die of? There are often kind of mental health or kind of other much more complex issues that are going on. And it's the fact that sort of everyone she knew had no knowledge of this either. There's this sort of claim, she kept her weight loss issues away from everyone. It's amazing, isn't it, how much... I remember when I got sober, so many people were kind of surprised. Weirdly, I don't know how. So many people were surprised, because to the outside world, the outside-facing world, you're holding it together, but in private, we all know about that with our mental health, don't we? I just wanted to, just before we get onto compersion, I just wanted to just share this one story. This is just an incidental story. It's not in the title. I just thought this would appeal to you, Nads, and I think you'd seen it. The Ukrainian honey trappers. This is in the, obviously, Russian-Ukrainian war. Ukrainian women persuading Russian soldiers to reveal all via dating apps. And this struck me as a really interesting parallel to a story Nadia was telling me a while back about the French resistance, and how, and I'm not suggesting for a minute that these women are in any way sort of sex workers or anything like that, but I think there was a story in the French resistance where women or prostitutes would actively give German soldiers, or try to give German soldiers, sexually transmitted diseases.
They would run Italian, they'd be really proud, and it was just 10 more or whatever.
And what a fascinating way to invert sort of a femininity power and exploit toxic masculinity and male vulnerability and all that kind of stuff.
Time again, rape has been used in war, and look at it just across the globe right now, right this minute.
And this story just gives you another human aspect to this. And this is a group of women who, as I say, are corresponding, flirting, honey trapping Russian soldiers, getting them to a place of comfort, attraction, desire, what have you, connection, so that they eventually at some point either reveal some details on their passports, some kind of geographical location, and then this information, and true sort of French resistance style, is kind of then telegraphed back up the battle line to the soldiers, and then they can take them out and do something about them. And I just think, wow, what a clever way in war to combat the most sort of disgusting aspect of war, which is the use of rape, and almost the power of women to be able to flip this back. And there's got to be a film in this.
I think in all these different... I want to go through war, because it's like you've got another brilliant story.
Oh, God, the Auschwitz. Yeah.
But what I'm also thinking when I'm hearing this? Because don't forget that so many of these Russian soldiers have been forced into war. Yeah. And they are young, and they are lonely, and they are terrified, and they're hungry, and they're sitting in freezing cold mud, and they probably have accepted that they're going to die, and you know, always on both sides, the tragedy of war. It's just, and to think that also these young people are taking comfort in that, you know, it's just so horrific, isn't it? It really is.
Sorry, there was a lag on our live chat, so apologies if you've been saying stuff or squealing stuff and we haven't heard you. Sorry. Martina McKeown, that's incredibly kind of you. She's just gifted 10 memberships. So
Oh,
10 of
thank
you will suddenly
Martina.
receive a membership.
You'll receive a month's membership to try us out.
Yeah.
We're very good over there, you know.
I'm really enjoying the Sunday show at the moment. It's really good fun. Okay, compersion. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love.
First of all, there was somebody here that found it very
remind
joyful.
us what.
Well, we don't. It's not remind, is it? Because we're all just. We'd never heard this word before. We wanted to touch on it today, but as I said, we're going to need to go into it in more depth.
So the word compersion. Let me just share. When I hear the word,
I've got the. I gave you. The piece.
When I hear the word, I just think of. It feels very close to compulsion. I don't know why, but there we go. So, what is compersion? Handing you over to Nads.
So, well, I'm reading this. Compersion is a wholehearted participation in the happiness of others. It is the sympathetic joy we feel for somebody else, even when their positive experience does not involve or benefit us directly. Thus, compersion can be thought of as the opposite of jealousy and possessiveness. Now, you can easily imagine that and feel that. We could all conjure up a memory of that when something wonderful's happened for a friend of ours. You see a friend who's finally found love and is snuggled up and is giving maybe their partner a little kiss. So there's a frisson between them. You can feel that joy of this, you know, for this new love. You can think of something brilliant happening for your child, and it's that feeling when you go, oh, but it's trying to bring that into your relationship. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, so I am only just finding about it. I think this originally happened. This is something that's discussed in polyamorous relationships.
Well, I was going to say, the specifics around the article that you dug out was about compersion within a relationship. So the idea that you can find joy. So let me give you quite bluntly a simple example. So you're at a party and you see your partner flirting with someone else, and and getting joy from flirting with someone else, and compersion is the ability to feel joy about your partner feeling joy. Could you do that? Could you feel that?
I can.
What, with me flirting with someone else?
Yeah, because the thing is, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to own. You can. I believe you can feel this in a monogamous relationship. In a trusting monogamous relationship, I think you can. You are a natural flirt. So
are you.
Like I am, yeah. So when I see you being flirty and being kind of cute, I love it, because it reminds me of how you used to be with me. I'm looking at you as...
Used to be with her.
No, when you first... Not used to. You sometimes do feel a bit nervous about flirting with me.
No.
And this isn't... And it's anyone that knows about compersion here. Obviously, we know we're just skimming the surface.
Harvey makes an
Harvey
makes an interesting point. You use the word flirting. You say that I'm quite a flirty person. Flirty to a point, but I would never be flirtatious in a sexual way. I do think this is about, could you feel happy about me flirting with someone and there being a sexual frisson with that person?
Well, let me just say, because another side of it is finding the joy. So say you're telling me about a past relationship that you've had, or a past flirtation, or a past one night stand, which you have. It's like Dina said the other day, how many bloody girlfriends have you had? Oh, I was here with this one, was here with that. And it was funny, because when she said that, I thought, God, she was being quite sisterly when she said that. I mean, she was joking with you, but there was a little bit of protectionist in her. And I thought, oh God, isn't that funny? Because I actually really love hearing these stories from Mark. Because no, you didn't mean anything, and you don't have to say sorry, because you've done nothing. But I actually do feel compersion, because you're telling me about your youth, you're telling me about what you did, I can see how much you enjoyed it. And why is that? Why am I able to feel all of that? Because actually I do really trust you, and I see you as an individual, and and you can have your own autonomy, and me possessing everything about you right through your life before I even knew
No,
you.
I get that. I understand
Doesn't make me feel nice.
I can
because
see
I had
that.
one relationship, my first relationship, I had a lot of jealousy, right? Because I didn't know myself, and I remember feeling that this feels really horrible and this feels really toxic. So now listen, it's really important, because in this article, and I thought this was a really important point, it said, this isn't about being a good or a bad person. Like, if you don't have these feelings and you don't have any sort of compersion abilities, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or there's anything wrong with you. It is just a difference.
But going back, I understand what you're saying about historic, and I get that, and I understand that. And just to be clear, whenever I do talk about my past, I'm really always throwing it under the bus, to be honest, or I'm throwing myself under the bus. But no, talking in sort of a present tense, if we were out and if we were at a party and you saw me flirting with someone, and that flirting was quite sexual in a sort of, and you could see me getting joy from it, I couldn't do that. If I saw you doing that with someone else, it would, for me, be a sign that something's gone wrong. So I'm not
exactly. There would be
I'm
a
not
line.
giving something. What is that line?
I think it's just a line that you fit. It's your own boundary, isn't it? It is your own boundary.
But that's the problem with relationships, isn't it? Your boundary isn't my boundary. And if, not that I would, but if I was at a party and you saw me, how far would I have to go before you'd feel, okay, this is a bit weird. I don't feel comfortable with this.
I would know it the first second. That's what I mean. It's just not something I can say here and now. It would be just like, yeah, there would be...
That's a big if, says Good Chip Lollipop, is you hate parties. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, but I think that it's not just flirting. It's joy in your partner having joy in other things.
Minky Moo says playing with fire.
And it not being about everything has to come vicariously through you or through your joint relationship.
But you're not a jealous person. I almost sometimes think you wouldn't even get jealous if I was in a corner snogging someone else.
I fucking would. Are you joking?
You wouldn't get,
I would get
no,
jealous.
You wouldn't get jealous. You'd just get cross and you would just walk out. If you
did this, like if you were talking to someone and your arm went up against the wall, I would get jealous, but I would hate you.
Right.
And I would finish with you.
Right.
So no, there is...
But that's why this is so interesting, though.
If you made me jealous, you would know, we know silently what our boundaries are.
See, my thing with this is, Nance would headbutt them, says I. See, my thing with this is that I think it's hugely stressful the way this is kind of presented, because I know it says this is not what you should aspire to. Don't feel this as a goal, but it kind of infers that if you can get there, there's something kind of cool about you, and you're very accepting and all-encompassing person. But if you were in a situation. And I was trying to make myself get to this moral place of feeling joy because you were enjoying overt sex, sort of sexually suggestive attention from someone. If you were enjoying that, and I was in the stress of having to... No, this is what they're talking about.
We're talking about...
But it comes from the polyamorous world,
No,
doesn't
but
it?
okay, but this can happen in a monogamous relationship. That's the point. And it's about being joyful for just stepping outside of your relationship.
I can understand it in other things.
Watching your partner...
Yeah, but monogamous is really important. Did you say monogamous or did you say...
Yeah.
Yeah, in a monogamous. Sorry, I'm thinking, what's the one where you don't have sex? It's monogamous. It's one person, isn't it? Yeah, in a monogamous relationship, you can feel that compersion in other areas of life, but around romance, it's really hard, isn't it?
Well, it says here, compersion depends on viewing other people as intrinsically autonomous and self-determined, celebrating their own unique path to fulfillment.
Well, yeah, that could go as far as you want it to go. I mean,
this might not seem radical when we feel happy for a friend, getting a promotion, a family member, a child delighting learning how to walk. But what if our romantic partner were to experience happiness and growth from an intimate relationship with someone else? Could we possibly rejoice with them? Now, when we say intimate, it doesn't necessarily mean sex.
No, but I do think, yes, you could rejoice for them, but it pretty much means your relationship's over. I think it has to, or there has to be some aspect of the relationship that isn't delivering on that thing that you. I mean, you just hang on. You just said it just then. You said how you used to flirt with me. So I would, if I would see that sort of thing in a relationship, you know, if you were doing that, I would go to a place thinking, oh shit, she's after that thing that made her feel very nice about me, but I don't do it, and what am I not doing, and da 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 da. It would make me reflect on what I'm not doing.
I suppose I didn't mean used to. I meant in the way that one sees it, not used to, or the way I would see it in you when I first knew you, rather than
because one was more separate at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, this could create bullying, says Laura Lou. Does this word only relate to... No, it doesn't, Minkum. It doesn't just relate to relationships. Cherry D says, well, there's something wrong if you go around trying to make your partner jealous. That's a whole different problem.
That's a whole different thing. This is about being able to... It's the freedom, giving your partner the free... Okay, let's give an example of something that might be very difficult. So say you met... And this I would consider an intimate relationship that you could have with somebody else that wouldn't be sexual.
Right.
Okay. So you are an English graduate, right? I'm not. I left school at 15, right? So you could meet a woman that you really share that intellectual passion and understanding.
Yeah.
That could be, I would have to challenge myself with that, because say you did make that friend, and I would be so like, I know that would be a really lovely thing and good thing for you. There would be fear in me about that, because that's something that I can't give you, right? But I would look for the joy in that's actually something that's so lovely for Mark.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Instead of going, oh God, I don't want him to be friends with that person because if she's giving him something that I can't give him, my aim would be to be joyful for you in that.
But
I think by being free with that would feel good for you.
By the same extension, I would say, I wish I could feel like that if you could go out and sort of have a kickback, drink, have a laugh, fun with someone who could have a few drinks and just have a bit of a laugh and be lighthearted and not be bothered by all...
You like that 10, 25,000 times a day.
No, I know, but sometimes I think, oh, she would just like, it would just be nice just to go out into Soho and just do that and kick back like I used to, and I wish I could almost... recreate another me and send it to go out with you, but it's not actually me and it doesn't jeopardise my sobriety.
It's
and all
interesting,
that kind of stuff.
isn't it, that you go into that what you can't do when you have to.
I'm going to read some of your comments in a sec.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole podcast.
I just wouldn't be with someone, says Lee Dorrant, who needs satisfaction from someone else, even if that's on an intellectual level. That's interesting.
But if you think about, so we're discovering all this. If you actually think about that, Lee, we are saying that we must be able to deliver everything to another person. Is there any arrogance in that?
Well, no, there's huge pressure. I think a lot of relationships do begin to buckle at the edges around that. Absolutely. Did I write could you feel happy with someone floating?
Do you know what? I think to pull this off is extremely difficult. But what about trying to reach a bit more for it? Were you really joyful for everything that happens to your partner, and you don't immediately go, oh God, what
but I don't. I agree. I think none of that is incoherent or not understandable or not a sort of almost a goal or an ambition or a place to kind of aim for. As soon as you get to a position, which this article is about, it is about seeing your partner gaining some enjoyment and joy from someone else in a flirtatious, semi-sexual, semi-romantic fashion. Can you actually feel joy? I think the vast majority of people would really struggle to feel joy, not because and this is where I think it becomes a dangerous, quite sort of weaponized term. They won't not feel joy because they're a hateful, horrible, self-obsessed, decrepit individual who doesn't want anyone else to have joy. In this instance, they would see it as a sign of something not functioning quite correctly in their relationship. I think it's from the land of polyamory, and it's a different kind of approach to relationships. Erin, you make an interesting point. I can't remember. Are you in a throuple? I'm not sure. Yeah. Yes. This happens all the time for me, and it really is such an enriching part of the relationship. Seeing your partner enjoying themselves with their other partner, then being cutesy and romantic brings joy. It's interesting, you see. It
is interesting.
If you could somehow carve out, what is it? The trauma, the fear. You're not a jealous person, but you've just said an instance in which you could be jealous, which is around intellectual stimulation.
I wouldn't be in a relationship with somebody that is trying to make me jealous.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not about trying to make you jealous.
chosen.
No, but jealous. People can be jealous without the other person. I mean, look at me. You know,
No,
without the
no,
other person
no,
making them feel jealous.
no.
But you wouldn't feel
I-
jealousy.
Of course, I understand that. What I'm saying is,
Zoe, I need someone who's obsessed with me.
It's not that I don't feel jealous. Of course I could feel jealous. You don't give me reason to feel jealous because I trust you. I trust who you tell me you are. I trust what you say to me. Now, maybe there'll be lots of people here that say, well, you should never trust anyone. That's stupid, but I do.
Yeah.
And I see that as an absolute gift. I think if I say to you, I trust you, that is like, I think that's a really precious thing when you
No, it really
say that to
is. It
somebody.
really is, and I think.
But I trust you until you give me reason not to. And then if you broke that, I would hate you. And you wouldn't be the person that I thought you were. Yes, Christine Lampard, somebody said.
Steph just said.
That is a really good example, actually. Mark really crushed on Christine Lampard. And do you know what? That is an exact example of what I mean. I was like joyful because it was like, I love Christine. Mark's like, I know that she's very happily married. He's happily married. But there was that like, God, she's gorgeous. I never expected Christine, out of all the loose women, was going to be the one that you would say, I mean, God, that sounds really weird. But you know what I mean? She's so beautiful, but I didn't think she was in any way your type.
Well, how do you feel about the fact that on a regular basis she texts me about the offside rule? She understands, obviously, the offside rule, and I don't.
So we have this real joke going about it, and I really do love it, and I don't have a single thing about it.
I must admit.
And when we bumped into her outside Harris, he literally couldn't fucking speak.
Yeah, but interestingly, I didn't then go into a process of trying to kind of really inveigle and go,
because you couldn't fucking speak.
No, and I also, out of respect for you, wouldn't do that. I mean, I must admit, I had a conversation with someone recently, I'm working on something where they referenced a shot in a show and the way in which that shot was done in a way. And I wasn't attracted to the person, but there was a moment where I thought, oh my God, I wonder if can you have a relationship with someone who can pick up the detail on something like that too? Wow. I hadn't met anyone who picked up this astonishing detail.
What detail?
This detail in The Last of Us regarding a shot that I was trying to describe a form of shooting something that we were going to adopt and use and experiment with, and she was like, "Oh right, yeah." And the moment where and I was like, "Oh my God, you're in this and on top of this in a way
you
that."
told me about that, and I was joyful.
That was a moment of kind of, but it wasn't sexual at all. It was just like,
but if I'm honest, when you told me about that, I had a moment of going, God, I could never do that for my... Oh, absolutely.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, you know what I mean.
That's
I
the
don't
point.
like you feeling upset.
I didn't... Of going, oh God, that's something that I wouldn't be able to do for Mark.
Is the audio just there? I just had a missed call. Sorry, just quickly check. Is the audio still there? Can you? Audio's okay. Thank you. Okay.
I had a moment of going,
thanks, Michi.
God, I couldn't do that for Mark. That could be dangerous for me one day if somebody met somebody that like is film literate in the way that Mark is. And then I immediately said to myself, there is so much else that Mark gets from me. And it's like, and I want you to have these other people that give you these things that I can't give you. I swear to God, I had that whole conversation in my head when you told me, and you didn't even see my eyebrow move.
Sorry, I was just having to sort of deal with that. Say that again, please. No.
I said I had that whole conversation in my head when you said that to me. Like, oh, that's something that I
We are out of sync. Sorry, so I've just got to sort this. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. It just, for some reason...
Are we back?
Yeah, I think we're back.
Well, anyway. So, I think we need to move on to flirting and listening styles.
Flirting styles?
Listening styles.
Listening styles. Yes, quickly, let's do this.
Right, we need the article.
What is your listening style, guys?
So this is a funny...
Just quickly, on the poll, the vast majority of you said you couldn't be happy or feel joy with your partner.
We're going to research this properly, and we're going to do it as next week's How to Stay Married in depth. So this caught my eye today, different listening skills, and that's because I don't know, did you see what I put on the Coffee Moaning Instagram page and on mine?
Sorry, someone was just saying you didn't get a chance to finish your thought. She did. We were repeatedly off air. I said, please say it again, and Nadia actually said whilst we were off air trying to regain Wi-Fi, I'm not saying it again, I'm bored of myself.
No, I didn't want to bore anyone. Shall I just say it again?
Finish
Maybe
the
people
thought.
didn't get. So when you told me that you'd had that experience, without a single thing showing on my face, I had a moment of panic where I thought, oh my God, I can never be like that for Mark. I'm not film literate in the way that other people are. And then I thought, then I thought, oh, but I'm so happy for him. This is what he need. This is good for him. And I thought, and anyway, I've got so many other things about me that I give to Mark. And so I had that whole argument with myself.
And they're all in a drawer upstairs.
And there is nothing in the drawer upstairs apart from my ear fucking plugs.
And rubbish.
So, and my vitamins.
Which are really exciting.
No, but somebody said that's a healthy attitude. But I think this is touching on what the compersion is.
Yeah.
Where you pause for a second and you say, is this a joyful moment for my partner? Does it really impact against our relationship? Is this me not wanting to have this? Is this about control because I'm frightened? Or is this about control because I want to protect them or whatever? And just questioning some of that stuff sometimes. Because when you see your partner fired up and excited about something, that's a scary thing because it's a step away from something that's happened between you. But that, I think, within a respectful relationship can, of course, enhance a relationship.
I would go so far as to say that I think a lot of women bend over backwards to feel something like compersion. Because I'm always struck by, as I was sort of looking into what we were going to do for a certain travel vlog, certain women who go to things like strip clubs and things like that. I think is that women trying to do that thing in a way for their partners. Do you know? I mean, I know a lot of women do like strip clubs.
I don't think you can crack open this whole new part of the debate.
No, but I'm just saying, but I think it becomes incredibly complicated.
And my answer would be no.
Compulsion, compersion, conviction.
And we'll do it as a podcast.
Something else we're also going to do a separate chat about just briefly is about actors who go full method. We're going to be doing that as a separate little kind of drop-in sort of Popcorn Junkies-esque chat. This is off the back of Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, interesting stuff about the lengths actors will go to hit certain weights. I mean, it's specifically about weight.
There's so many of them. And does it make you, does it compel you to see a film when you know somebody's had to put on 50 pounds or lose 50 pounds?
Yeah. Anyway. So these 7 listening styles.
I was laughing reading this morning because I thought, my God, I do all of
What's your
these.
listening style? Tell us as we're
Well, I
speaking.
think that people we have to know.
Oh,
the
okay,
different
run
types.
through them. So, active listening. Do you want me to run through them?
Yeah.
Active listening, possibly the most well-known form. Do I need to describe it?
It's fully engaged and active listening to what someone is saying. We may listen and also be looking for examples, like observing body language, facial expressions. That's fully engaged, active listening.
Yeah, which I wasn't doing when I was trying to sort out the Wi-Fi problem.
And it says this takes you beyond the words. You're not just taking in the words; you're looking beyond the words at the whole. And I think
reflective listening
at the beginning of a relationship. At a marriage, that's what we're doing.
Active listening.
Or a marriage, active listening.
Yeah,
You're looking at everything. You're
Yeah.
And in fact, actors, be warned of actors, right? And falling for them, because they can do the most fantastic active listening. It is a really charming thing. And if you are looking for a way, if you feel inadequate, every date you go on, it's like if you feel like they're always choosing somebody else, and you don't feel like you're good looking enough to ever get the girl or the boy or whatever, really listen. It is extremely seductive.
Says the actor, Edward Bevington.
It's really seductive.
Says the actor.
She's
really bad at pretending to listen. Really bad.
It's really, really seductive to actually really listen to. And I don't know whether this is in the list, humble listening.
Well, hang on,
when somebody almost crosses their hands in their lap and they are sat, and they are often yogis, mindfulness people.
Well, let's quickly rattle through them. Reflective listening. This is very much something that's used in therapy. This is the kind of listening which tells the other person, almost by repeating or echoing back what you've heard. So that person speaking really does feel a sense of what they're saying is being reflected back to them. Informational or critical listening. Type of listening might be something you do instinctively in work environment or meeting an interview, for example. Critical listening is where you listen not to criticize, which is what the phrase might suggest, but to evaluate, analyze, and question what's been said. Biased or distorted listening Hands up if some people irritate you. Distorted listening is where we hear what we want to hear based upon our judgments, values, filters, or script. This is algorithmic listening.
This is really...
This is listening to what only listening to what you want to hear.
And I think that that's a good one for us all as humans to challenge ourselves with, isn't it? And think, am I doing that now? Because I've already made all these assumptions, or, I've had 10 conversations. We do that a lot, I think, in relationships. We go, I know what they're going to say.
This is another good hat to say. Closed listening or defensive listening is when you're not listening at all, and it's about waiting to get your point across. You see people literally just sitting there going, just get through it. I mean, I'm terrible at that sometimes, I must admit. Distracted.
You go like this.
Yeah, no, it's bad. Distracted listening, very good for busy parents, where you go, The kind of distracted listening is also the way we sometimes listen to people speaking. Perhaps we're engaged in another activity or just not that interested.
And I think that's a really important one in any way. But I think as a parent, it's something that I've had to make myself do, because my girls have said it to me. They said that's the thing that's been really difficult with you, Mum, is that you're so often doing something else when you're listening to it. So over the last couple of years, I do a lot of this where I sit down and I cross my arms and I listen and I'm just fully engaged with them, because we are all so busy, aren't we? And we just forget.
And then empathetic listening is the final, where you're very intensely sat with, devoted. And I think it's interesting when you run through all these listening types. We were going to talk about phubbing, which is when people just aren't listening to anyone, they're just on their phone. Or avoiding partners, actually, avoiding any kind of interaction through just scrolling through mindless shit. All of these types of listening are really important aspects of, or danger signs, I think, in relationships.
Kathy says, when it just looks like you're listening.
Yeah.
I mean, we've both got ADHD. I know quite a few of you have ADHD, and my God.
The country pumpkin's just said it's hard to listen to Nads when I'm deaf and she sits with her hand in front of her.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's all right. No.
I'm so sorry.
Natasha Milchin, as soon as I open my mouth, my daughter starts yawning or remembers something very important to tell me.
Yes, that's yawning listening. They've missed that one off.
Reactive listening. Is that one of the stars? I think it was one of them, wasn't it? Active listening. Reactive listening,
where you're constantly looking for something to get in and then criticise or have something.
I think that would be classed as biased or distorted listening.
So the person speaks to you and then you always start your answer back with "but."
Yeah.
But. So I'm going to read these more, and I'm really going to try and work on it, because I use all of these.
And I think we should move through all of them. And also there's that sort of, I don't know, there's that kind of listening where you're only listening for the stuff that supports your sort of negative, not opinion of politics, but your negative opinion of yourself. So, for example, I can think of someone where you might say something like, I don't know, I couldn't think of anything better than spending all my time with you, doing everything that I could everywhere in the world all the time because you're wonderful. And the only word in that long sentence I've just said they'd home in on is couldn't.
And somebody there saying they just hate it when their husband doesn't look at them when I put something funny up actually on the Coffee Moaning Instagram. Check that out about that. It's a funny meme.
Well, that was a varied coffee moaning.
May Edmondson, telling a story with ADHD means telling a million side stories with a vague connection somehow along the way. Do you know
Beautifully
what?
put,
The
mate.
other day,
That's really true.
I met Kay
Oppenheimer
for
Popcorn
breakfast.
is coming, yes.
Well, for a cuppa before work. And she's a great listener. Kay is a really, really good listener. Jane Moore, very good listener. Actually, Jane Moore says I'm a really good listener. It's one of I felt a bit emotional. She said that to me on air. I never knew you had ADHD. Should I only ever think of you she is as entertaining, as engaged, and as a listening person. I was like,
yes. I would wholeheartedly agree when you're interested in what's being said.
It's a huge problem for me.
You make huge decisions on what needs to be listened to.
Yeah, so I had this cup of tea with Kay, and I stopped after about 10 minutes. I went, I'm so sorry. She went, no, it's okay. Because she stays with me. Because I go, bah. I literally went off. It was like going down a corridor, right? That's the end point. But I've opened every single door on the way down the bloody corridor.
And left them
open with all the drawers inside open.
There you go.
And shit pouring out.
But we wouldn't want you any other way, sweetie.
Lee, did you see the beginning of this chat? We were talking about you.
Yeah.
I was talking about you. And I know how much you love people talking about you, so you could go back to the
We were talking about you a lot, Lee, actually. Yeah, we're gonna probably talk about you again as soon as we finish this.
I will see you later.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you, honey.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
We're all good. So, podcast landing later. The last Cornish capers will be landing, and then we move on to pastures new with more home times. Bye.